What's up guys? Welcome back to the Build Studio. My name's Chris and today we're going to be unboxing, setting up, and reviewing this all-new S1 3D printer from FLSUN. Now if you're not familiar with FLSUN, they are the leaders in Delta style 3D printers. And if everything goes to plan, everything this printer is supposed to be capable of will set the standards for all new 3D printers going forward. Now, in my opinion, Bamboo Labs has been the market leader in terms of quality, speed, and capabilities with their various series of 3D printers. But it looks like FLSUN has decided to throw their hat in the ring and not only challenge Bamboo Lab for the crown, but pretty much every 3D printing company out there. With features such as a 1200 millimeters per second max print speed, 40,000 millimeters per second acceleration, a 320 by 320 by 430 print area, and a whole feature set of capabilities, we're definitely going to put this printer to the test to see how good it actually is. So stay tuned. Hey guys, I just wanted to take a quick time out from the video to give a shout out to PCBWay, who has supported this channel and a number of my previous projects on occasion by sending me pre-printed parts, PCBs, and other custom pre-printed materials at times where certain prints are just too large and complicated for some of my 3D printers. In fact, they also did print me and send me these parts for this project that I'm working on that I will share with you in a future video. Now, if you're not familiar with PCBWay, they are the industry leader when it comes to PCB manufacturing and 3D printing solutions. Basically, all you have to do is coordinate with them and upload files for your projects and details for what you need onto their website, and they'll produce it and ship it directly to you. Now, as you can see, they do have unparalleled quality when it comes to 3D printed parts, and they have some of the fastest turnaround times of any and all of their competitors, and all at a very affordable and competitive price. Now, if you do have any projects or any needs from a PCB, CNC, or even a 3D printing perspective, PCBWay is an excellent company to reach out to for help with your next custom project. And if you'd like $10 off your next order, I'll leave my referral link in the description section below. Back to the video. All right. So I received my FLSUN S1 a few days ago, and as you can see, this thing is gonna be huge. Now looking at the size of the box, it's not only almost as big as me, but also crazy heavy. So heavy in fact that I actually had to help the FedEx delivery guy lift it off the truck and help carry it into my house. Now on top of that, because of the weight itself, it would have been impossible for me to get up the stairs to my studio where I could unbox and set it up. Now for that fact, that is the reason why we are here downstairs in my kitchen filming this unboxing video. In fact, this is probably where the 3D printer is going to stay until I can find a way to get it up to my studio where I'm already out of room, or find a more suitable place to put this thing. Now again, with a top rated print speed of 1200 millimeters per second and 40,000 millimeters per second acceleration, and also a print volume size of 320 by 320 by 430, I was super excited to get this thing up and running. Now, when it comes to the size, it is not a surprise that this printer is so large, given that the previous V400 sitting in my studio is also large, and it is slightly smaller than this new S1, but I definitely was not expecting it to be this much larger. Now, when it comes to size, this box is about 3.5 by 2 feet. So when it comes to unboxing this 3D printer, I gotta warn you that this is probably gonna be a full body workout experience. And that experience starts with carrying it into your house, where you're gonna wanna have some help because it's just gonna be so big and probably more than one person can handle. Now, when it comes to the packaging, and the first thing that I noticed and something that I like is how the top of the cover itself has an illustration of all the 3D printers that FLSUN has produced over the years, as well as the specs for each printer to show how they've gradually made improvements in specs and their capabilities throughout each generation of 3D printers. Now, keep in mind that they have priced this printer at $1,299, which is roughly the same price as Bamboo Lab and Creality's top performing model 3D printers, the X1 Carbon and the K1 Max, which kind of tells you which model printer the S1 is competing with. Now, when you do open and unbox the printer, you will get a set of instruction manuals and a thank you card, which I tend to glaze over and put to the side. In addition to that, you will also get a 500-gram spool of PLA high-speed filament, which of course is nice, but it would have been better if we would have gotten a full 1 kilogram spool of filament instead, especially with the printer having a price tag of $1,200. Now, also included in the box is of course your power plug, as well as a toolkit that includes your hex and other tools, the door hinges, a good collection of screws and washers, a tube of grease, and a glue stick. And then, like most other 3D printers, you do also get a cutter, a USB key, an extra PFA tube, and then an extra all-metal hot end. These inclusions, of course, are also nice, but it would have also been nice if it did come in a plastic toolbox like a lot of other 3D printers these days. Again, because you are paying $1,200 for this 3D printer, which of course is at the high end of the spectrum. Now that, of course, again, is a nice to have, but definitely not something that's necessary since you can easily 3D print your own toolbox. But again, because you are paying $1,200, would have been nice that if FLSUN could have included that. Now, in addition to that, you've also got the LCD screen and panel, which is actually pretty large, which comes disassembled and packaged separately. Now, one thing that's unique about this unboxing experience is because the printer is so big, there are also a set of instructions that illustrates how to unbox the printer itself. Once you remove all the accessories, the instructions do indicate that you should lift and tilt the box vertically so that the 3D printer is standing upright, and then you simply slide the printer out of the box, which in itself was not that difficult. I think the only hardest part about this was removing the plastic cover on the printer. Now, jumping ahead, as you can see, the printer is very large and not much smaller than the box itself. So if you're like me, you may have to find somewhere to place this if you don't already have somewhere with enough space. And then on top of that, you might have to find a few friends to help you move it around because of just how big this printer is. Okay, so after I removed all the tape and protective packing material, the first thing that I did was install the LCD touchscreen panel. Now this involves connecting 4 different cables at the base of the 3D printer itself. Now 3 of those cables are labeled 1, 2, and 3, and they connect to their corresponding USB-C ports on the back of the panel itself. The 4th cable is your flat data cable, which connects to the data port on the back of the LCD panel, and it fits only one way, so very easy to install. Now after those cables were connected, it was easy to line up the panel to the base of the printer, screw it in, and secure it to the 3D printer itself. Now this required only 4 screws, 2 at the top, where you slide in the 3D printer panel itself, and then 2 on the very bottom. Now this is probably the first and one of the things that bothers me that I don't understand, and that is the placement of this LCD panel. Now I think it would have been better if the panel was at the top, or even better yet, on the side of the 3D printer itself. Now I get that most people will probably place the printer on a table, which I assume is why it's on the bottom, but because the printer is so heavy, a lot of us will just be placing this on the floor like it is right now, meaning I might accidentally kick and damage this LCD screen. Now I do get that placing the LCD panel at the top of the printer would make it too high for those of you who are placing this on a table, which is why I think mounting it on the side near the center is more of a reasonable option, giving us more flexibility when it comes to placement. Now a wireless touch panel would be nicer, but again, that would introduce additional costs for an already expensive 3D printer. Now once the panel was installed, the next thing to install is, of course, this glass door, which brings me to the second thing that bothers me about this 3D printer. Now while I was installing the glass door, one of the hinges where you screw on the door broke off. Now this is very discouraging, especially because the hinge is made of metal, which shouldn't break. So I guess one piece of advice and warning is to make sure that you don't screw the screws in too tightly, because it will break the hinge where the screws are screwed in. Now, I did reach out to FLSUN to see if I could get a replacement set of hinges, and we'll see if I get a response. Now, in addition to that, while I was using this printer, I did open the door, and the two screws that I used to screw the hinges into the 3D printer itself broke in half, and the hinge came right off. Now the good thing there is that the printer does come with a few extra screws, which I was able to use to re-secure the hinge to the printer. But only time will tell if I need to replace these screws again as well. So as you can see, it's not screwed in as tightly as it was before, because the printer head or the screw head will just break right off. Again, the screws are metal, so it's kind of discouraging that the metal pieces are so weak. Now, I do like the fact that this S1 3D printer does come with this top portion where you can store and feed your roll of filament. And what's even better is that it serves as a dry box for storing filament. Now, in addition to that, there is also this cardboard box of desiccant that will absorb any kind of humidity that's introduced inside this dry box. So this is also something that's nice to have. I do wish that they did come with an extra box, because you will eventually need to replace this. Now the good thing is it's not just a place where you can store your filament, but the dry box actually works as a dry box, which you can control independently on the control panel itself to heat and cool your filament and regulate the temperature within the dry box, which is a very nice addition. Now something else that's included, and something that I think is interesting, I do believe also that this spool holder does serve as a weighing mechanism to monitor and warn you when your filament is getting low. Because there is also an indicator on the LCD panel itself that lets you know the weight and when you're getting low on filament, which is something that I was not expecting with this 3D printer. Okay, so once everything was assembled, I did plug the printer in and turn it on to test this thing out. Now, I did run into a third issue when getting started, but this was more of a user error rather than a manufacturing issue. Now, when I did do the initial calibration and setup, and even on my initial test print, I could not get the print head to move, and I kept getting a connection abnormality error message. Now, I looked everywhere and could not find anything on that message, and for 30 minutes I could not figure out why I was getting the message or how to start my print. I even went as far as resetting the printer back to factory settings, but still kept running into this error message, which caused the printer to flicker on and off when getting the message, and then just restart. Now, after about 30 minutes of research, resetting the printer, and just doing a bunch of other things without any kind of success, I finally noticed these 3 clear plastic clips that were connected to each of the different belts, which at the time I wasn't sure should have been removed, but I ended up trying anyways, which ultimately solved the issue. So if you are running into that same issue, make sure you do check and remove these 3 plastic clips that I guess were holding the belts in place. Now, stupid on my part, of course, but nowhere in the instructions or online did it mention that these clips needed to be removed, or even mention these clips at all. I just thought they were a cable management type of accessory that made the belts a little bit tighter. So news for you if you decide to purchase this, and during the setup problems you're having issues as well, is to remove these 3 clips off the belts. Anyways, once I did remove these clips, I was able to rerun the calibration and successfully start my first test print without any kind of error message or any issues at all. Now, as usual, I did start with the traditional benchy test print, and man, does this printer print fast. It was amazing to see how fast the printer could move. I will say that the printer itself is very loud, even with the door closed, and that noise definitely does fluctuate depending on the print speed. Now in comparison, the V400 is a lot quieter. In fact, it doesn't have any noise at all. But in comparison, it also definitely is not as fast as the S1. Now as you can see, this benchy turned out amazingly nice. In fact, there aren't any flaws that I can notice at all. There's very little stringing, but I think that's more of a filament issue, and you can hardly see the layered lines at all. Now, to be completely transparent, the printer itself has a max speed of 1200 millimeters per second, and I even noticed it reaching 1400 millimeters per second at a few points in the print. It definitely does not hold that speed throughout the entire print itself, which of course isn't really surprising, and it shouldn't be expected. Amazingly enough, it did finish the Benchy in 8 minutes, which is the fastest of any of the 3D printers, at least that I have. And I'm sure it can go even faster if you hard set the max speed itself. But at default, the quality of the print turned out amazing, as you can see. And layer lines are hardly noticeable, and the quality is almost as good, if not as good, as the X1 Carbon itself, which is where I pretty much set my standards nowadays. Now, before we move on to the next test print, from a features perspective, this printer does have an all-metal hot end, which can reach up to 350 degrees Celsius. The printer itself also utilizes a built-in CPAP high-pressure turbofan with a maximum wind speed of 40,000 RPM, which adjusts really based on what's being printed and accounts for a lot of the noise that you hear coming from the 3D printer itself while it's working. So it does get pretty loud, but that's because of the cooling fan that's built into this. It's also got a built-in micro-tac radar with a dual eye system that consists of 2 high-definition cameras and a micron-sized LiDAR and laser transmitter. Now, the combination of this technology scans the first layer of your print, and it also adjusts the flow and accuracy of the filament in order to produce the best prints possible. Now, in this video, it's kind of hard to show those technologies working, but I do have to assume that they are working because of how nice the print quality is at the print speed that I'm seeing in this printer. Now, there are, of course, some other features that come with this printer that are worth mentioning. The printer itself also has built-in AI detection and monitoring to identify any issues during the print job. And there are also actually a few AI options that you can leverage in the menu system itself on the control panel. What those features do is also to help you ensure that you aren't wasting material and also identify issues as they happen while the printer is printing. Now, the printer also does have intelligent zone heating to ensure that the heat pad is at the right temperature for whatever material that you're using. And it's also got a fully automatic bed leveling system, which is a must-have with all new 3D printers today. Now, something else worth mentioning is that the printer also does come with the FLSUN slicer, so you can edit and send print jobs to the printer wirelessly. But of course, up until now, I still have not gotten it to work, and I'm even having trouble getting it to detect the printer itself over wireless. So if you do have any suggestions or know of a solution, definitely leave me a comment in the comments section below on how you got it to work. Now, this is something that I'm going to keep playing with, but right off the bat, it's not working for me. Now, back to the test prints. After the Benchy, I decided to print this flower vase, which of course is also an included sample with the printer. And as you can see, it turned out amazing and it has no flaws at all. This print took about an hour and a half to print, and it feels very durable. In fact, I also filled it up with water, and it seems to hold the water without leaking very well. Now, when it comes to 3D printing technology, Delta-style printers have not always been my favorite, in particular because of the size, as you can see here. They're just very big. In fact, I rarely use the previous V400 model because I really just have it tucked away in my closet, and it's just very hard to get to, and because of its size, it's hard to move around. But after using this S1 and seeing how fast and how good the quality is, I may have found my new favorite 3D printer. The only challenge that I have right now is finding a place to put this mammoth of a 3D printer so I don't piss off my wife by leaving it in the middle of the kitchen. So that's probably the only concern I have. Now, I do hope that FLSUN will get back to me about sending me a replacement set of hinges and screws for the glass door, But overall, I am very happy and very pleased with the S1 version of this printer. In fact, I'm going to go as far to say that this FLSUN S1 definitely sets a new standard for speed and quality combined, and will hopefully drive a new level of competition between the different manufacturers that are out there. If you don't mind the size and of course the noise that comes with a high-speed printer, I would definitely recommend this FLSUN S1. Now if you're interested in getting one of these for yourself, or even the T1, which is this printer's baby brother, I'll leave my referral link in the description section below. Anyways, I do hope you enjoyed this quick unboxing, setup, and review video and found it helpful. If you did, please do leave me a like and subscribe and let me know what you think of this printer in the comment section below. Now I'm going to keep playing around with this printer, and I may even order and unbox the T1 on this channel. So please do ring that bell icon to get notified when I post new content. Until next time, see ya.